so much stuff in between, it would just like scatter everywhere.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another Indie Author Live Chat, and we are back with another SPFBO 9 finalist chat, and I'm so excited to be here. If you missed the one that we did on, what day was it? Wednesday? It's all running together now. You can go meet 4 other finalists from the Wednesday Live. That's in the Indie Author Live Chat playlist on the channel. But tonight, I'm excited because we've got Katie, who is back, thankfully. And then we have Connor and Ed. Congratulations on making it to the finalist round. How are you guys doing?
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm doing good.
Doing well. It's cold here, but yeah, that's got nothing to do with SPFBO. I just felt like getting that off my chest.
That's fair.
Yeah.
You're not like buzzing with sort of nervous energy from it being SPFBO anymore, so now you're just freezing.
Yeah. That was keeping me alive, I think.
Yeah.
And Katie, congratulations on your SPFBO finalist book hitting the Next Generation Indie Book Award Fantasy finalist too.
Thank you.
Exciting.
It was fun because I entered that one and probably forgot about that because there was no there's no Discord, so I'm like, I guess it's still happening.
Yeah, it's a night and day difference. I think SPFBO is not like any other contest I've ever been in because usually you just stick your book in and then you're like, I hope that they didn't lose it somewhere. And then they announce the finalists and then that's it. And like in my case, I entered Splitting Dawn in Next Generation Indie Book Award this year too. And if I'd known you and Andy were going to enter, I wouldn't have bothered. But so I entered it in. And then unless you're a finalist or a winner, you don't hear anything. So it's like, did they announce who's winning? So it's exciting just to get to tune in. And then on the SPFBO side, on the other hand, like RK said, that she unplugged to not have all the tension and everything bogging her down. But on the SPFBO side, it's like you're seeing every vicious and exciting play-by-play as people are cut, as the scores are updated.
Yeah, we didn't let her escape.
If I were them, I would be sweating watching these scores update as much as they were at the end, and it came so close. And congratulations to Morgan, who's not on tonight, for winning. But for those who don't know you, who are hearing about SPFBO for the first time, maybe because of SPFBox or because the video popped up, why don't you tell us a little bit about the books that you entered that made it to the finalist round? And Connor, you want to kick us off? Maybe we can just go around.
Yeah.
Maybe it was okay. I'll go, or Connor goes.
You can go. It'll give me some time to think about what I'm going to pick.
Okay. So I entered Hills of Heather and Bone, which is, I guess, I was saying cozy dark, but now people are saying it's cozy grim dark, and I was like, I didn't think it was that dark. So yeah, it's just a cozy dark Scottish inspired story about a necromancer who's on the run with her husband and just trying to live her life in peace. So, and there's a chicken.
Yes, I love this chicken so much. And it's not grimdark. There's too much hope in the story and love in the story for that, I think. But it is delightfully dark in just the right ways.
I had
Ed, speaking of dark.
Yeah. I had The Fall Is All There Is, which I can relate to not being surprised that people thought it was as dark as it was, because I was not expecting a lot of that feedback. It is science fantasy, I guess. It's basically every genre that it is possible to be at this point. And it's about a post-apocalyptic society with royal quadruplets vying for succession after their dad dies. And it's just basically like an intercontinental family drama kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm. And it's got reluctant royals in it, which I love. Yeah. Yes.
Oh, they're so much fun.
Yes.
I think you did the right thing by writing a book that covers like every genre. That way you can like enter every competition. And
then, oh, that was fun. I entered SPFBO, the sci-fi one. I was just like, oh, I didn't think I would get this far in any of them because I thought all the other ones would just bounce me out for being the wrong genre.
Yeah, that is the worry. Like if you have too much of one, then they'll be like, oh, it's not fantasy, it's too sci-fi. Or if it's
Yeah.
but if it's good, then they'll just go like, no, this is definitely sci-fi. And then the fantasy people are like, no, it's fantasy. Give it back. So
I
you
am
get the
here
right
to
Let them
make
bicker.
all the judges argue about the definitions of genres.
just chaos, man.
Yeah.
The-
Yeah, exactly.
The CM stands for chaos machine.
Yes, exactly.
Oh yeah, that's right. I wrote a
I've
book as
uncovered
well.
my secret identity.
Yeah, sorry, man. Yeah, my book Daughter of the Beast is it's a Slavic folklore coming of age story, but it's like a villain origin story as opposed to like a becoming a hero thing. I didn't want to do like the hero's journey. I just wanted to do like the people who are not particularly nice. How did they get that way, and how come they're so cool with it? But yeah, so it's dark, but it's not particularly gratuitous. I think to begin with, I even said that it was young adult appropriate, but that's maybe I have too much faith in young adults to. No, actually, no, they probably look at way more grim stuff than I would. But yeah, no, it's definitely more adult than young adult. But
I don't know why when I read yours at first I was like, is this going to be like if Tangled was dark and instead of being like, I don't know anything, Rapunzel's like, I can destroy anything.
yeah, it's one of
Oh,
those
I need
things where
that
like,
now.
yeah, I swear to God, like Rapunzel in Tangled is my absolute favorite fictional character. I think, like when people say like that's literally me and point to a character, it's pretty much her. I'm like, just
Yeah, that tracks.
enjoy things and just go along with whatever. And I think that maybe
I
that's just
thought it
because
was
I'm too
like you were
lazy.
trapped in a tower and your hair was long, is what you were
I was
going
gonna
for.
say that hat is
Yeah, no, the
hiding
beanie is
that
hiding the hair.
is
Yeah,
hiding
it
his
is.
luscious locks.
Yeah, but my powers derive from my raging ginger beard. It's like Samson. You cut that off, and I just become a child again. Um, but yeah, no, like I love that kind of like wide-eyed, see the world for the first time thing, and I did kind of want to capture that vibe, but the world she sees not lovely. It's just, there's no musical numbers, unfortunately. That's for the sequels.
And no Pascal, but that's okay.
Yeah, no.
Oh,
There's gonna
so
be a
if
musical
anybody's
adaptation
watching
at some
like,
point.
wait, I want to read more. The description box on YouTube has the links to everybody's books, so you can go grab them. And Wind Raven was going to be on tonight. If we're watching Wind, we love you. So proud of you. So excited for you. And Wind's link is in the description box as well. They were not able to join us, but that's okay. We will try to catch up with them another time. So for you guys coming back, and I know like Katie, we talked on the SPFBO 9 Blitz last summer when it was kicking off. How does it feel being on this side of it and looking back? Like, is there anything that you think doing this is what positioned me to place like I did, or was this a complete surprise?
It was all a complete surprise because again, like when I was the second to last one to get placed. So it's like literally the cutoff before the competition ends. So I get to semifinalist, and so I was in fantasy faction, and it was again another year where where the blogs didn't release their reviews or semifinalist or finalist until like the very last minute, which is how Booknest was last year or the year before. And so I was like, okay, I'll just, it'll be what it is. And then when I woke up to semifinalist, I was like, cool, this is awesome. And I've told the story before, but it was like the day before I was going to have surgery. So I'm just like, oh, awesome, this is cool. And competition could be over. And then day of surgery, last day of October, someone's like, hey, congrats on being a finalist. I'm like, pretty much same with Becca. I was like, no, it's semifinalist, right? I was like, because that happened one year where someone's like, oh, you're a finalist. I was like, no, it's just semifinalist. So it was again that shock of where are we? What is happening? I guess we'll process this later. So it was still, yeah, looking back on it, I was like, I did not see myself getting that far.
I think I DM'd you about it the day you were having like the surgery and everything, like to invite you to the finalist Discord and everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I'm having surgery. Like, oh shit! I didn't know your reaction to being a finalist was that severe.
Yes, this caused me to go have surgery. Thanks, Mark Lawrence.
Oh goodness, the best reaction ever. It's like waking
Yeah.
up from surgery and being like, wait, I'm a finalist. Is this real?
What's happening?
Anesthesia.
With all the anesthesia, you're still actually having surgery right now.
That's my
It's all a
theory.
dream.
This is
Like
all
I-
actually
Like
part
I
of
said,
your
the coin is
surgery.
explode, turn into dust. And then when everyone else was getting their coins, mine was like one of the last ones to get there, and I was worried. I was like, okay, maybe this isn't real. So I did reach out to Mark Lawrence. I'm like, hey, when are we supposed to get our coins? Because everyone else has gotten theirs. And he's like, oh, no, we'll get it in the mail. I was like, oh, good. So it is true. I can put the sticker on.
He reached out to me and was like, do you want me to send you your coin? And I was like, nah, don't bother. Postage is too expensive. So I don't actually have one.
No.
That's so
Yeah, well-
sad.
Well, it's like,
Well,
I mean,
think about
I
it.
could, but it's like, I would lose it.
Oh,
So
You know-
I figured that like the digital version is probably a lot more useful for me. I can stick it on things.
Just find someone who has a
Yeah.
3D
I am
printer
waiting to
and
lose
just
mine
print
at this
your
point.
own.
Yeah, like I just assume I'll just, I guess to make myself feel better, I'll just assume he did send it and I already have lost it. So because that is how it will end anyway. So.
You pre-lost
That's
the,
literally
the coin you
exactly.
didn't get.
Yeah, and
there you
I
go.
saved the environment a little bit because it's like made of plastic or
Yeah.
something, so someone else can. You'll have to
That's
update
really
the 9,
fantastic.
cross it
I
out,
thought
and
it
put
was
next
like
on it
hockey
with a
puck
big.
material where it's like slight rubber cement or something because it's heavy.
It's
So I'm
so
like,
much heavier than I
no.
thought it was going to be.
It is a literal hockey puck.
Awesome. Now I kind of wish that I'd got one. Use it to throw at the neighborhood kids. Don't you know who I am?
Just ask him if he's gonna go to like Bristol Con or something. Like, hey, if they're from New Zealand or gonna pop over to New Zealand, or if Ryan
Yeah.
goes, just ask him.
I am going to
Yeah.
Dragon Con this year, so if maybe there's
Oh,
someone that
cool.
can like,
Well,
Oh, yeah, there you go.
yeah. Sorry.
Oh, I'm hoping to go to Dragon Con since it's only 45 minutes away.
Yeah,
Oh man, that's cool.
it's like
I did not.
28 hours for me and like $3,500. So
Oh
well.
Jesus.
a labor of love. If you ever come,
Yeah.
you need to do a big signing and be like, this is my international book tour.
yeah, but then I'd have to like bring books or something, wouldn't I? Or no, people would bring their own books.
You have them shipped to your hotel or something
Yeah.
in advance, right?
Mhm.
Oh god, that sounds like way too much organization for me. I'm just gonna show up, hang out at the local bar.
They're gonna ship to like the room next to you in the hotel or something. Some dude who just is going there for some business meeting or something. So what's all this?
Yeah.
Having an
yeah.
affair with his wife and all these books show up.
Yeah.
Like,
That's
oh, don't
exactly
worry.
it.
These are books, and they open
They're
it, look at the
complimentary.
cover, they're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'm sure
Which
they're
is a
used to
very
it.
epic
It's
cover,
Atlanta.
by the way.
Anything happens.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So, do you guys feel like your covers are part of what made them stand out? Because all three of you have epic covers. Not to say, we're not supposed to judge books by their covers, but looking at the covers, I was like, oh, these are all very great covers. Every single one of the finalists.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank
I
you.
got mine for a steal. It was I think Mike McClung did the design. I'm sorry I interrupted you.
No,
like
it's
twice.
because there's like a delay, and so
Oh,
I was like,
no.
I just stop. I was just gonna make a shitty
You
joke.
go and then I'll jump in
Oh,
after.
I was literally just gonna make a shitty joke about the fact that I designed it specifically so I could put it in the background now and look like I have ears.
Oh,
That
that's
was it.
clever.
It was me thinking really far ahead in the future for this exact moment, but that's about it.
So
That's all I've
smart.
got. Sorry, you
I
can
had,
carry on with the logical stuff.
I had Mike McClung do mine, and it was phenomenal. And he just kept sending me updates, and like it was for free. It was like just a favor he did for me. So everyone go buy his books, because he did it for free, and he deserved for the quality that he put out. Like honestly, he deserved more sales for that.
That's awesome.
Wow.
What a legend.
It's
Yeah.
gorgeous too. Absolutely
It's
It
gorgeous.
was,
so
because
cool.
I remember
He did
your
a phenomenal
original one.
with that horse. Yeah. No, and then I think I had both of them. It was a weird fiasco at the time where one person did one cover for me and then Mike did the other, and then they both asked and I wasn't sure how to like navigate it, so they both ended up doing it, and I was just like, I told both of them like, you don't have to do this. You don't, like, I have someone else, and both of them were like, yeah, no, it's fine. We'll both do it. And you just go with whatever you want. And it's like I went with one, and then I think I forget who I talked to. It was just like, I think you should go with this other one. The first one seems a bit too generic, and I was just like, okay, yeah, like we'll try it out. And then the way everyone reacted to the cyborg horse was initially, it was like, okay, this was the right choice. It seems like.
Yeah, it's so striking, and the typography as well, like the way the title is done, really cool. Yeah,
that's fun. So mine was the same cover artist who did my dark fantasy trilogy, or the start of my trilogy. And I was worried afterwards because someone had commented when I first like released it, like, I can't tell this is fantasy. Like, it looks too romancy. And I was like, I get that, but this is really what I want. Because I had gone with another idea, but then that didn't quite pan out. So I was kind of scrambling at the last moment. I was like, you know what? I just really wanted to be focused on the people in the book. So I'm just going to focus more on the cozy instead of the dark sadness that will eventually come. On the back, there's a skull, so little hints at that. So I was worried afterwards because where I placed in Fantasy Faction, they didn't like romance, and I was like, they're probably just gonna think this is a romance. It's not. So it's kind of that hard thing of like, when you look at it, looks romancy, but on the inside, it's not. Which is also what I wanted to do, is like, here are the expectations, but also we're gonna just subvert them because that's fun to do. Honestly.
Yeah, they're all beautiful covers. If you guys haven't seen them, and you're watching live on YouTube, I did, was it late last week, I think, a video where I read off the blurbs from everybody's books in the finalists and showed the covers off, so you can go take a look at them, check out the books further, or go hop on over to their links and like pick them up on Amazon and start reading them. Be prepared, because this year there are a lot of strong character-driven stories, and that's something we talked about on the last panel, that every single one that I think made to the finalist round, and I've read all but two on the finalist round, are very, very strong character-focused tales. So would you guys mind sharing a little bit about the main characters in your book, the kind of stories people would be picking up if they grabbed them?
Who wants to go first?
No one wants. Me? Okay.
Either or.
Yeah, I think you've been selected.
Yeah, if we just do like an anti-clockwise this time.
You were the first.
No, that
You're
way.
the first one to talk after I talked. So
directly beneath Katherine on the left side, so I've lost my order. But okay. So yeah, I wrote this book in first person, which was a first for me. So I normally write in third person. So I was like, okay, it's going to be single POV, also very new for me. And I wanted a character who was like much bigger, just because that just seemed fun, because my other characters are tinier. But I was like, what if, just had a real tall woman and just her short husband, and but she's got more anxiety. She's not like gung-ho out there, really confident in herself, which is seen typically with most like main characters. So I was, again, wanting to kind of go the opposite route of most stories. So really just having her struggle with like anxiety, a little bit of depression, and some grief, while also having just like arthritis too. So I just wanted her just to be a regular person who's trying to do her best in the world. But life sucks, and just because of her abilities, she really has to struggle with accepting herself when the world does not accept her. So I just love exploring like mental health themes, and so this was a really fun kind of exploration through this, especially for grief in like fantasy books, the different kind of nuances of it, but ultimately like this character who nothing's going to fix what's happened. The only options are to either regress or go forward. And even when you go forward, it doesn't mean everything's going to be solved. So I really just wanted to kind of play around with that while still having a counterbalance to her, which is Percy, who's a lot more upbeat, a lot more exciting about life, even though he still has his own faults. So they kind of balance each other out of, just a little bit more melancholy and the super kind of excited, upbeat kind of person. So she was fun to write, but very different than my other characters, who are a lot more confident, a lot more cunning, a lot more morally gray. So that was fun.
Yeah, and then the chicken, just to lighten everything
right.
up. It's like, here you go.
That was a
Maybe
great
Fightful
character.
Chicken.
I
After
feel
playing
like-
Zelda Ocarina of Time, I never thought I would like a chicken character. And then when I read your book, I was like, I actually really like this chicken.
I
feel
talked
like
about
any
doing a special
description
edition
of
where
it-
it's just the whole book, but from the chicken's perspective, and it's like being translated from one of the beast charmers. I thought about that. It'd be a real short novella, but who knows?
I feel like every description of your book, you have like these wonderful descriptions of anything, like the plot, the characters, whatever, and then it always ends with "and then the chicken," or "and there's a chicken." It's like this. It's like the bottom of the blurb, you know, "and there's a chicken." It's like
It's a major selling
Okay.
point for me, honestly.
it really is, like, because people just like,
What's
wait,
pretty
what?
unique? We got necromancy, we got plant magic, and we got a chicken.
And a chicken.
There we are.
Yeah,
It's like a good pitch.
Spoilers.
Yeah.
The chicken lives.
just a single novella of just from the chicken's perspective. Would,
Oh my God!
I
Wait,
honestly think would be
you
the best.
should do that.
You have
Actually,
to
do that.
it.
Unironically.
Yeah, but make it like a really weird genre, like a romance or like a murder mystery or something.
I
You know,
mean,
like just,
technically,
Chicken meets a
technically
hen.
the chicken really
Yeah.
does like her husband, so in some form, it could be. It's just
Yeah.
unrequited,
Oh, I could see that.
I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
I
a
vote yes.
tragedy.
It's a
Ed,
tragedy.
how about yours? Talk about some characters and some drama and some twists.
So all of my characters, none of them are human. I wanted to tackle stuff that's pretty miserable and not generally acceptable in polite human society, but like have factions that were good or bad or whatever, all doing different things and never having that bias of always rooting for the humans. I say it a lot and it gets me in trouble, but anytime there's aliens or there's monsters or whatever versus the humans, even if the humans are objectively evil, portrayed as the worst people ever, I'll still always root for the humans because I am a human. And I'm like, if the monsters won or the aliens, like an Avatar or whatever, if the aliens won and they wiped out all the humans, then that would include me, and I don't want that to happen. So sorry guys, evil humans are going to win. And so I always feel like deep down everybody has this like this bias where you have all these fantasy monsters and stuff. And I think it's the reason why, if you look at like D&D, every single playable race is just human with pointy ears, human with beard, human that is short and better stealth mechanics or whatever, you know, like, so people have this kind of inability to separate themselves. And so if you remove the humans entirely from the story and just have them be different fae and monster races, then, you know, like that way you can add more nuance and have them do miserable things, and then accidentally have you're rooting for these slave driving people eating monsters because you're more concerned with the person they are as opposed to like the fact that like, yeah, we probably wouldn't do that. Like, yeah, so I sort of intentionally did that. And then they're all Slavic folklore creatures. So the Volkari, they're similar to like the Dungeons and Dragons gnolls or like, you know, various anthropomorphic wolf people, but they're based on the Balkan Soglav, which are like these weird giant dog people that eat people. But the Soglav have like a third eye, which I didn't give to them. I gave to another group later. So what I'd do is I'd take folkloric creatures from Slavic stuff, and then I'd take aspects of them and give them to the other ones, or remove or add them. And then the same with their cultures. I would take like the cultures of the Mongol hordes or whatever, and then combine that with, say, the Byzantines, and combine those together. And then that way it's not like you know, like a lot of fantasy, you'll just have like, this is the fantasy, except these guys are the not Romans or the not whatever. And you can see that they're just that, but with a different name. And so, you know, like the Sakari Legion, they're like an allied imperialist faction. They're similar to Rome and they use Roman names for things, but their culture is completely different, that sort of thing. So the character side of things was just an excuse to explore what it would be like to be a person who was working alongside and growing up alongside these monsters, because we played D&D and I always thought it was interesting to have like a playable character raced person as the villain, and they're always surrounded by monster lackeys. And I'm always just like, well, why would they be? You know, like there's no reason why, you know, if you're Mr. Elf McGee and you're doing your evil plan, why do you go get orcs to do that? Why not just go get some other elves that are slightly evil or whatever? You know, but they always do that. And I know that they do that for like mechanical balance purposes in the game, but like you have to justify that with your story too. And I wanted to explore that. So I wanted to have a person that would be your main character race or what have you fully invested in the culture of the villain monsters, whilst still showing that, like, even amongst those villainous monsters, there are some that have different views than others, and like, your views aren't dictated entirely by your species or anything. So yeah, that was my goal. And I suppose, depending on whether you like the book or not, you could say whether I was successful in it. But
Yeah,
Elf
and I
McGee
think
is
the
my
fact
favorite
that it
Dark
did
Lord
make it as
name.
far as it did is just, proof how well it went over. Oh,
yeah,
and Connor, you talked a little bit about, your book and the fact that there's this whole family dramatic aspect to it. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about your main character?
Yeah, Peter's a bisexual autistic quadruplet, which is traits I share, and which is why I have a very hard time convincing people he's not actually a self-insert. He is far more reckless than anything I would ever think to do, and surprisingly has less filters than I do, which is an achievement, honestly. Um, it's a lot of my the way the style that I write in is deeply internal, like self-examinations, and part of the reason I do that is because for a lot of my life it's been very difficult to sort of translate to people like what the sensory experience of being in my brain does, and so that's usually why I write these autistic characters of like I need to I need to find a way to make it make sense to other people, like the weird sensory tics or lines of thinking, um and then I'm just putting a weird fantastical sort of set dressing over it. That does mean that there's the book is very stressful because this character, people, because there's a court setting, these characters will be saying one thing, but then there's like 3 pages of this guy being like, okay, now did they mean that, or are they trying to get like saying something at an angle to try and convince me of something else, and do they have a larger point they're getting to? It's like a bunch of like just like a bunch of breaking down the rhetoric of like offhand comments everyone makes, and so it can get like very weirdly psychological and intense in weird ways. um I like, and that's usually the thing, like is the deciding factor in whether or not people will get to the end. I've had people who will rate it like will like DNF it or something, and they'll be like, it's just really intense and I don't want to, it's you're really in this guy's head and it's not a great experience for me. And then there are other people who are like, I'm in this guy's head and I hated every minute of it. 5 stars, 100, like this is the best thing. Those are always my favorites. Like, I had a terrible time. 5 stars. But yeah, that's just the style that I sort of adhered to at some point, is just like really internal, um, as much internal world building as there is external.
Yeah. I think I loved just how, like you said, it's rough, but it's rough because it's so real and raw
Yeah,
and deep that it's like, this is beautiful. Versus,
yeah,
sometimes we think, I want this character to have, a traumatic story or some aspect as a writer, and you're like, oh, that sounds great, and then you push them into the story and maybe it doesn't work out. It doesn't
yeah,
feel real, and it's like, this is rough, but this is real, and it's beautiful.
yeah. There's a few
Yeah.
times when writing it where it was just sort of like I got to a point where I needed Peter to do something, and then I was just sort of like, well, it doesn't make sense that he do that, and then just sort of be like, well, I just need to sort of keep pushing. I have to go back like 2 pages and introduce some weird, like have someone say something weird, and that puts a bug in his head, and then 2 pages later he'll actually do it. And it's just sort of like, um, it's really, I'm really focused on building out the process by which this dude makes a bunch of like makes such terrible decisions, basically.
Love that. So yes, very, very good books. And if you're watching and you haven't put this together from that, the depth that all the stories go into for the finalists is so well written. And I said this in my video, and I said it in the last panel, that it has been such an honor to see this as the cream of the crop that's being recognized for indie, because I think sometimes indie books get sort of thrown under the rug. People are like, oh, well, you know, you never know if you're going to get a quality one or not. And SPFBO really does bring the spotlight to the fact that there are books that are like trad published quality, but without the boundaries and the content. And that's what makes it beautiful. And I'm just so happy for all of you. Super excited to have been part of SPFBO with you guys. No other group of people I would have preferred to lose to last year. It was fantastic. But for people who are entering SPFBox this year, I'm curious to hear what your thoughts would be if you were going to either re-enter, if you're looking back. What's something that you feel like you did really well that you would repeat if you did SPFBO again, versus something that maybe you wish you had done differently?
If you're working on a series, this is one thing that I did. I think I did well following the advice of a few other finalists. Like when I became a finalist, I started reaching out to others who had already become finalists in previous iterations of the contest. And one thing I got from like across the board was like, don't work on a sequel until the contest is over. Shelve it and do something else, because like the amount of feedback you're about to get is going to really fuck with your ability to like engage with like what you need to do for a sequel or how you need to write it. And that proved to be the smartest thing I ever did, because by the end of this contest, every sort of side project I was working on, I hated it so much. I just, with all of my heart, I just wanted to set everything I'd worked on during that period on fire, because like I couldn't gauge like what I was doing, and how intentionally I was going about any sort of world building or character thing. It makes it really difficult to sort of like gauge what you want to do. I do think the one thing I would also suggest that I didn't do, I was like unplug much more than I did. I tend to overfocus on like the stressful part of the experience, but it was genuinely like really like a lovely time, and it was like an honor to become a finalist. But like there is a sort of I think the people who unplugged had a better time than I did, or at least a less stressful time, because it was a very, I don't want to imply that I had a bad time, because it was just like lovely to have that like a Discord and like experience that side of like the community and everything.
Yeah, and I think on the prior panel, someone was saying, you know, that you can come back, right? You can leave for a little bit, and then come back for a little bit, and then leave for a little bit, and that's okay.
Yeah.
You know, you got to maintain sanity somehow. And I think those first few months is what I shared on the last one. Similar to that, is I felt sort of burned out after those first few months of just watching the cuts. And even though I'm doing SPFBO news again this year, so I'm going to do it again, I was still like, this year I'm emotionally trying to disconnect a little bit and just be like, okay, I'm going to report on this, and I'm not going to get emotionally bogged down in this, and we're going to just enjoy whatever ends up happening. But it took that first year last year to be like, I am in way too deep. To be like, okay, we need to separate out. And that's the importance of the community if you're in it. So you're not suffering alone, right?
Yeah, it's a really fantastic like way to meet other authors and like find community. Like I joined SPFBO 7 and 9, and each time I sort of walked away like knowing a ton more people and having connected to a ton more people that made the process that much easier.
Yeah, I think the other thing with that, community. Oh, sorry. Did you want to?
No, I was just saying, awesome. Yes, all to that.
Yeah, 100% community. I think the other thing as well is that if you see it as like a competition, you know, I mean, it's called a competition, obviously, but if you see it as like a how good is my book competition, I'm sure you're setting yourself up for failure, because it really isn't. Like, it's nothing to do with, like, obviously there's a level of quality. There's a bar to entry as far as quality goes, really. I think most of the reviewers will find issue with a book that's woefully edited or whatever, except for mine. They just ignored that for some reason. I think they just put it down to like Kiwi grammar, who knows. But yeah, like they people, if you look at it as like my book is better than these books and stuff, you know, that's the wrong mentality completely. I would really hope you didn't have that mentality. But if you look at it as like my book is finding its audience through this process. Like, I think the most valuable thing for me from all the reviews, from the feedback, was kind of noticing which bloggers, which reviewers did it gel with, and then that way knowing, okay, my future stuff, if it's similar to this, I can put it in front of those people that did like it. Or if I have something that more closely matches the things that these other reviewers that didn't like it said that they would have liked to see, then I can still send that to them, because it's like you've made that point of contact. It's about, like, you know, connections and whatnot, and it's supposed to shine a light on indie. And I think the more, I don't know, the more positive aspect is picking someone else's book and rooting for them as opposed to yourself as well. Like, I think our Discord chat was mostly us. If there was a negative thing, we had a little venting section, and 99% of that was us venting about reviews that the other people got. I don't think
Yeah.
because that's the sort of thing, that camaraderie, and like you want everyone to be, like, everyone to succeed. It doesn't really matter who wins or who loses, as far as like everyone involved is on the same team anyway, you know, like, yeah. And I think that's a really valuable way to look at it. And then then also capitalize on it as well. I think that's the thing I probably, if I could go back in time and tell myself to do, would be to actually mention my book more. I think on my social media, I don't think I ever really mention my own books. Like, I occasionally might post a snippet from something silly that I'm working on, but I never really talk about Daughter of the Beast or anything. And I think I probably should. And I think I probably should have, while there were more eyes on it already. It's like, oh, wow. But yeah.
Yay,
Wins!
here.
Yeah, it's that raising tides raise all ships, or whatever the saying is.
Yeah, rising tide lifts all boats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I completely agree. Someone who's done SPFBO before told me last year, you get 24 hours to be sad.
I think it was
that your book
Andrew.
got cut.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was
Sounds like
Andrew.
something Andrew would say.
And you get 24 hours to be sad, drink your favorite beer, and then move on. And I think it's really good at viewing, like you said, if you're not viewing it as a competition and instead viewing this as an opportunity to connect with your niche, connect with your readers, it can be a really rewarding experience, even if you get cut the first round. A lot of these bloggers put a lot of thought into the reviews that people got, and that was a huge gift. And I remember when mine got cut, I started getting messages. I was like, you haven't responded. There's been no response from Katherine. And it made me feel like I actually have this community here, which we were talking about, that cares about the fact that I haven't said anything. I've been quiet. I was able to process what Esme had pointed out and been like, hey, here are some genuine issues with my writing. Thankfully, some of them I had addressed in the revision, and they're going to make my writing better going forward. And now I know, yeah, this is where I want to be, if this is the audience I want to, appeal to. But it's harder to view it as objectively, I think, if you're looking at it, like you said, Ed, as a competition where it's my book is better or my book is worse. And instead, look, am I marketing it the right way to the right people? Where are my strengths? Where are my weaknesses, so that I can improve the next go round? And on the last panel, we had Josiah on and Ryan on, and people who've done this like several times. And they were going, yeah, we revised and revised and revised the books before they hit the finalists. And it made me feel so much better. It's like, oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
They've had all this time to get used to all these revisions.
Yeah.
Great takeaways. Is viewing it different, because it's not just like a contest like Next Generation Indie Book Awards, which is fantastic for what it is, where you put the book in and you walk away. And then you're like, oh, well, I didn't make it. But Andy Peliquin's like the king of dark fantasy. I understand.
I was not surprised when I saw him at the top of the winners list in fantasy. I was like, well, I'm just happy to be here. Did not expect to be here, but here we are.
Katie and Daisy and Andy. And that's that mentality has changed. The longer you're in indie, you're like, oh, yay, they made it. Okay, I don't feel so bad now.
Something.
Right.
Without doing anything.
Literally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, pretty much like what Ed and Connor said for this competition was definitely like not viewing it as, there's me and 299 other competitors that I'm, like facing off against. Like you want your book to win, but also at the same time, it's like, I want to see what all these other books are, not just to like say who's better, who's worse. But yeah, to really see like what are we all doing as authors? What are, you know, the unique books that we're writing, and this is the competition where you can actually see them and get to interact with the authors, as opposed to any other contest. So second year being in, definitely like seeing the familiar faces is exciting. And I remember like for Connor, like when you're the first cover for The Fall Is All There Is, I was like, oh, that's interesting. And I don't remember like how I was seeing it. I just was seeing it. And then here we are now in the finalist bunker together. I was just like, wow, look at that. Worlds colliding. And, you know, I
Right.
never would have thought that. So it's just fun because you never know who you're going to meet in this competition. You know, people who have been doing this a long time, past finalists, past winners. It's all just a fun mix of people. And I think really that's the best thing to get out of it. And then even our Discord, it was like 95% food, and then there were memes, and then, yeah, the competition part. But just to have like that support when you got like a bad review. Because when I got my first 5, which was my only 5, but it was the first 5. I was just like, I didn't know they could go that low. So it was, I mean, it hurt for sure, but it wasn't based on the quality of writing. It was just like, this was not the book for this reviewer, and that's fine. And, you know, just knowing to separate that out, of just like, okay, she's not my market, and that's totally fine. And just kind of, you know, learning to have that mentality. So I think really interacting with the community and being able to like just genuinely, honestly support other people who either didn't make the cuts, made semifinalists, and just didn't make finalists, and just other people who are watching. I think I did that okay. And what I wish I had done better was probably just connecting a little bit more and not reading the reviews. I really didn't read my reviews unless it was above a 7.5, because we had started doing
That's
that
smart.
where I would go to the scoreboard and I would look at the number first, because that was easier than what did what did this one reviewer write in length about my book. Just, you know, because I wanted some marketing things to take away, even if they were less than ideal reviews, because I'm really bad about that as well. Also bad about putting the sticker on my book. I finally put the finalist sticker on my ebook yesterday. So yes, it
I'm
only
so
took
proud of you.
I was going on about that earlier about how, oh yeah, I just get the digital version. I've completely forgotten to do that. I'm
okay. So I'm on
useless.
the last one. I think
Yeah,
Becca
I
was
think
the
I
other one.
might be. Yeah, I haven't done it. Oh well, it's because I have
Yeah.
to edit the bloody file. Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
open
that's why I was like, I'm
Microsoft
only
Paint
doing
and tie
I
up the
literally
whiteboard.
I
so much
DM'd
easier.
someone I knew who knows Photoshop, and I was like,
That's the
"Can
way
you
to
do
do
this
it.
for me?" And they were like, "Yeah, sure, why not? It's gonna take 2 seconds."
Yeah, all my
That's what
pages,
And I
I
asked
do
them
it
got.
to
all in one
mention
layer. I
as
can't
a
work layers.
finalist in marketing. I'm like, dang, I have this marketing thing, and I'm just
Oh,
like,
marketing.
oh yeah, I was in SPFBO. You know, Mark Lawrence read it. It's fine. It's not a heart attack. But
Yeah,
he's
that was
still my
awesome.
book.
Wasn't that like serendipitous though? Like he got that from someone else or something like that,
Yeah,
and it
because I
just so
went and
happened.
asked him, I'm like, do you want my book? And he's like, no, I have it. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
Awesome. Not stressed about that at all. But yeah, it was stressful, but not really stressful. There were moments of stress. But now I can market my book as almost SPFBO finalist winner. Or SPFBO winner, which is, someone said that today. I was like, I guess I could
read
use
by
that.
Mark Lawrence. Just a blurb at
Read
the
by
bottom.
Mark.
Yeah.
Mark Lawrence. Yeah.
Yes.
Run to Goodreads. Is there a Mark Lawrence review that I can grab something from?
I think he leaves the reviews
Yeah,
on
he
all the
posted.
ones that goes to finals.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And yeah,
That was when
mine
I really set in, is
exactly.
when he's holding the book and the whole chat. I was like, that's not real, right? No, it's fine.
I think he said something about like the typography or something at one point.
Oh yeah, he made fun of my name because it's so small. I just
That's
didn't know how to
right.
like do that. I was just like, where do I put my name? I'm like, I guess I'll put it at the bottom so I don't want to take away from the top or anything. I was like, I don't want to make it like super large. It wasn't because I was just like, my name doesn't deserve to be large. It was just like, I don't want it to take up a whole lot of room that the
Yeah.
title could take up. And he's like comparing it next to like Stephen King's one, but Stephen King can do what he wants, and they'll put
Right.
his name like super large.
If it makes you feel any better, when he DM'd me about the finalist coin, he left me like a little note being like, "You should put your links to all your social stuff in like your Goodreads about me, because like people are gonna check that, and then you can lead them to all your pages." And I was like, "That's actually really smart. Wow, thank you, Mark Lawrence."
Great
And
dude.
thank you for
Small
sharing
dude.
that, Connor.
Yeah.
Wisdom from the experts.
Literally, we're just playing a game of telephone at this point. There's probably something like I'm leaving out or
Copy
something.
market books. What do we do after they're published? I don't know.
Right? Yeah.
We enter
You just
SPFBO
throw
with
it out
them
and
and
hope
hope
for the
for the
best.
best.
That's it, right? I don't need
Recommend
to
and see if they swim.
Yeah. This year I was like, do I want to try, this year? And Katie was like, why not? What do you have to lose? Just
Why
do
not?
it.
I mean, with the lottery system, it's like you've got a chance either way.
Yeah.
And but then even now it's great because they're doing the Spiff Knows, which I love, of just books that,
Oh, that
that
was
didn't
cool.
make it. So again, the beauty of this contest is no one really gets left behind almost.
Right.
Even the books, I remember from SPFBO 8, there was talks about books that didn't get like highly reviewed, getting other people to just like start reading them. So it's like I love that about the indie community. It's like, even if your book doesn't make it, doesn't mean your book isn't great. It just means, it just wasn't the time for it. And that's okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Clayton.
And the good thing about
Literally.
Spiff Know is those people have an opportunity to enter next year the books and try to get in again. So it's like potential
Yeah.
double publicity as opposed to, just the 1 year, which is fantastic. Oh, Clayton's back. Hey, Clayton.
Grimdark.
Book canon.
Straight through it.
Mobile app ordered.
Well,
Book
if we
canon.
chuck Wynn's book hard enough, it probably will bring
Oh,
down.
it would kill someone.
Oh yeah, I think it counts as a weapon of mass destruction.
Yeah. I feel like Clayton's is quite thin, right? So you could use it as like a frisbee. So it probably have the distance.
It's like a throwing star kind of a thing.
Yeah, like a shuriken. You just have a bunch of little copies of it. Just
Right.
Yeah. Yeah,
then
Wynn's
with
is just
book
Fold it into a
bludgeoning
paper
its-
airplane and
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. I need to use that
Yes.
in my marketing. Comes with one
punch a
book
hole through the
shooting in. Here we
dimensions,
go.
bring down a small fortress, you name it, Wynn.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you all so much for being here, for taking the time. I know you've probably been inundated with all the post-FIFO stuff, but it means a lot that you take the time to tune in and just chat. And congratulations again. I'm so excited for you guys.
Oh, thanks for
thank
having us.
Yeah, thank
It's
you
like
for
a
having
last
us.
hurrah before
It
all
was
the
great.
Before
new
they forget
kids and
about us.
Spiff box come up.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll just be sitting there like back in our day. We didn't have
We
no
will fade
stinking
into the
lottery
west
system.
with grace.
Yeah. Our lottery system was just reviewer taste. There was no algorithms. But yeah.
Yes.
It's gonna be so much fun. I'm really
We get to be the
hanging
only
out to
people
like
who
see
sit on
what
the
happens with
sidelines
this
and
one.
watch the new kids.
Yeah.
I remember
like
in my
horses.
year.
Yeah.
I'm already
Speaking
wearing
of
a
the
grandma
new kids,
shawl, so
Exactly.
on Saturday, we are kicking off the second year of SPFBO Author Live Panel Blitzes. So
Yes.
if you are a SPFBO reader or blogger or past participant, you want to know who's in this year, every day from Saturday this week through Saturday next week, I and then Mike and Ro from the Bookish channel Bald and Balding are going to be hosting these panels. There are over 75 people signed up, so you can meet a very big chunk of the Swiftbox authors and hear about their books. So
awesome.
yes, it's
Are
going to
you
be
both
really
doing
exciting.
it at the same time, so you're both hosting it, or are you guys doing it separately? But
We're going to be doing separate panels so we can get more people during times when I'm not available, which I really appreciate Mike and Ro for stepping up to do.
do
because
so
it's
much.
a
Do so
lot.
many interviews.
Literally.
I'm just like,
Legendary.
what is happening?
You are like a machine putting these out.
Yeah, so because Mike and Ro are coming on, we were able to open up a lot more panels, which meant that we could have 4 more authors per each of those panels. So we were able to reach a lot more people, and that's really exciting. So very, very excited just for what's coming. But thank you all again. The links to Connor and Ed and Katie's books are in the description box again if you have not grabbed them. So jump over there and you can read the SPFBO 9 finalists before SPFBOT kicks off officially on June 1st.
I keep
Thank you,
forgetting about
everybody.
you first yet.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.